So here's the question. As a real estate investor, how do you build a business that you're excited to show up to every day while you constantly grow your stream of passive income that you and your family can depend on for life without having to leave your computer or even live somewhere that houses are affordable? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. Welcome to the Virtual Real Estate Investing Podcast with your host, Brian Elwood.
What's up, guys? Brian Elwood here. Welcome back to the Virtual Real Estate Investing Podcast. This is episode number 44. So I'm back from my crazy adventure into New Orleans. Went there. If you listened to last episode, I told you I was going there for a bachelor party with 5 or 6 other guys, and we made it back alive. So I'm back in action, and it was an awesome time. I had some of the best seafood I've ever eaten in my life. I had a couple of hurricanes, a couple of the hand grenades. We walked all over the Bourbon Street, and it was just nuts, man. It rained the whole time we were there, so we were hopping puddles, and we rode the ferry across the bay from the neighborhood we were staying at called Algiers Point. It's the oldest neighborhood in New Orleans. There's so much culture there. We went to a bar where the drink called the Sazerac was invented in the 1800s, and they still use the same recipe today. A lot of that stuff in that city is from the 1700s, 1800s. Man, it's just crazy how much history is there. I also saw a lot of properties that I could probably buy for really cheap. However, I would personally never invest in New Orleans simply because of the Katrina disaster and the fact that I think my properties would be at an unnecessary risk. I always advise people not to buy houses right by the coast. A lot of people might give me crap for saying that because they might own properties in Florida near the water or whatever. But the way I see it is when you have a choice between that market or a landlocked market or a more, a market that's further away from the water, why not just pick the one that's further away from the water just to lessen your risk of, something happening. A big storm blows in and you lose all your properties. It would be a big, big disaster. I would definitely want hella insurance if I was going to buy a bunch of beachfront type properties. There's a type of insurance you can get called loss of rents, which actually repays you the rent that you are losing if your property gets destroyed and something has to be rebuilt. And that's only $5 extra a month or so per house. I have it on all of mine, and you better be sure I'd have that if I had properties down in New Orleans, man. But anyways, really glad to be back. Got a good episode for you guys today. Today, I want to talk about something that is really at the core of true business success. There's a lot of confusion around what it takes to be successful as an entrepreneur, and what it takes to really arrive at your goals and to end up where you're actually trying to go. A lot of the times, the questions that I get as a coach are very surface level and tactical type questions like, hey, Brian, how can I get more leads? What's the best marketing channel? What's the best market to invest in? How do I hire this guy or that guy? How do I structure my org chart and all that? And those questions are great for improving your business. However, if you skip straight to that stuff without doing these 2 foundational exercises that I'm going to talk about in this podcast, then you're honestly putting your success at risk and your happiness at risk. Because if you have read the 4-Hour Workweek, which if you haven't, you got to read that. It's one of the best books I've ever read. Sometimes I don't even finish books that I start, but the 4-Hour Workweek, I literally read 3 or 4 times. I took just crazy amounts of notes every time I read it, and totally changed my outlook. But Tim Ferriss's main point in that book, or one of the main points, is that it's all in the end about lifestyle. So everything that you do should be very intentional in creating the day-to-day lifestyle that you are after, that you're trying to live, right? So he talks about how everyone thinks that they want money, but what they truly want is the lifestyle that they believe the money will afford them to live. However, it doesn't work out that way. It's very common for people to get very rich, very wealthy, successful, but they're actually less happy than they were before they ever had any success. And they've got less free time, and they're not as close to their family anymore, and they don't have as many friends, and they end up unhappy. I mean, think about this, guys. There's millionaires and billionaires out there that are depressed and can't sleep at night and hate, what they've built because it's dominating their lives. So it's really the saddest thing to see that happen. So, true success, if we're talking about what does it mean to be successful, in my opinion, my strong opinion, true success means arriving where you wanted to go in the first place in your life, in all areas of your life, not just what's in your bank account, but everything else in your life. So you have a vision for how you'd spend your life, in the, best possible scenario. And then if you end up doing that, then that's true success for me. So let's get to the two foundational elements of true success. Number one is getting super, super clear on what that lifestyle is. I call this your perfect day exercise. I have a podcast, one of the first ones I ever recorded. You can go back and listen to that to learn how to do that exercise. But you basically stop thinking about money and stop thinking about your business and stop thinking about, cool titles that you could have for yourself, like, oh, I'm going to be a doctor or a lawyer. Quit thinking about all that. You got to think about, what do I want my day-to-day lifestyle to be? So I wake up at whatever time, I get out of bed, I do this for a while, then I switch to this, then I go meet this person, then I go do this fun thing. You need to visualize what that would be and go ahead and write it down. It shouldn't really be longer than a page or so. Spell out your perfect day. Get really, really clear on the lifestyle you're trying to build. And don't worry about making it absolutely perfect, because these kinds of things change. You might redo this exercise once a year just to kind of update it based upon some changes that could happen in what you're going after. Hopefully it's not going to be dramatically different, the lifestyle you're going after year over year. Most people, they might just need to make a small tweak to it here or there, but generally they kind of know what lifestyle would make them happy. So you got to get that piece figured out. Okay. That's step one. It needs to be written down. You need to be able to recite it to a friend or to me if I saw you via memory, right? It needs to be drilled in your head. This is what I'm going after. This is the day-to-day lifestyle I'm going after. You remember the movie Groundhog Day, where he wakes up and he keeps living the same day over and over again? He's trying to escape that day. He doesn't like it. He wants to break out of it. Well, think about that, but flip it to where it was a day where you actually did want to live, and it was an amazing day. And of course, some people give me pushback on this and they say, Brian, well, I wouldn't want to live the same day over and over again. Of course not. You're going to want to take days off, go on vacations, some creativity, different things in there. But generally, just come up with the best possible single day and write that down. That's going to be your target that we're forever moving towards once it's done. And it's not like you're going to end up in this rigid military lifestyle just because you're going after this same day over and over again. So don't worry about that. Just write it down and complete that exercise. Okay. Number two, the second part is that you've got to create a vision for a business that you're going to build that will afford you that lifestyle. The business will fuel the lifestyle. The business will give you the lifestyle in every single way. And notice I didn't say go and get a job, because 99% of the time, any job that is available out there is not going to allow you to live your perfect day, because there's going to be certain constraints that are put on you by your manager, by your boss, by the demands of the job, to where you're not going to be able to live your perfect day, because most people's perfect days involve having total control of their day and their time. So this is why entrepreneurship is such a great thing, because it's like a blank slate. You get to envision and then create any business, basically, as long as it's within the realms of reality that you want to, right? And then those businesses serve as a tool to fuel your desired lifestyle. So that's step 2. And this is arguably the harder of the 2 steps. Is paint the picture. What's the vision for the business that's going to give you the lifestyle? That also needs to be written down. It might be 1 or 2 pages, right? Just clearly describe it for me in every detail possible. Then, so let's say you're done. You've got a page over here that describes your lifestyle that you're trying to live. And you've got a page over here that describes a vision for a business that's going to allow you to live the lifestyle. Now, if you sit there and you look at both documents, you're okay, this is where I'm trying to go, and this is the business that's going to get me there. Guys, it should be very, very clear and obvious that the business will arrive you at the lifestyle that you said you wanted. Like, you should be reading both documents and they should link up very clearly, right? So you're reading your business vision and you're like, you want to create a business that you can run from the computer, and you only want to work 3 or 4 hours a day. And during those hours, you're doing things you really enjoy. And then you go over and look at the perfect day or your lifestyle, and it says, I want to live by the beach. I want to, only work 3 or 4 hours a day doing something I love. Those things add up, right? You do put numbers in there like revenue and things like that. But a lot of the time, the most important parts, the parts that are going to make you the happiest, have almost more to do with your freedom than they do with how much money you make. So where do you work from? Who do you work with? And what are you doing? Those pieces are more important than how much money do you make. Because if you don't work where you want to work, you don't work with whom you want to work with, and you don't do what you enjoy doing, it won't really matter how much money you make. Those are the most important pieces to think about when you nail this down. And lastly, of course, you put your revenue goals in there. You put all the toys and extra things that you want. Make sure that aligns up too. So this is very high level and brief kind of overview of this, but those are the 2 foundational exercises that you have to do if you want to actually end up where you're trying to go. If you skip over figuring out the lifestyle you're after, and you skip over putting in the time to craft an amazing business vision that is going to give you that lifestyle, then you're just kind of shooting in the dark. You're just going to press on the gas, start some kind of business, and hope that maybe you get really rich and then you can step out of it and go back and live the lifestyle. That usually doesn't work. I mean, it doesn't matter how much money you end up making. You might end up running a huge company with, a bunch of employees, and you're managing everyone, and you're doing a bunch of crap you don't like doing. You're making a lot of money, but you're not excited about your day. And, you don't look forward to anything that you have to do. And it's really sad when people end up there. So yeah, guys, just know that you can continue doing what you're doing. You can ignore this advice, but you're going to be kind of a hamster on a wheel, just running nowhere, trying to keep the lights on. It's really worth it to take some time to work on these 2 foundational elements. Complete these 2 exercises, and you might redo them once a year or whatever you need to do. But you got to do this stuff, because then once you have the lifestyle and you have the vision for the business, you can put a actual plan in place to execute, to create that business, which will create the lifestyle. So your action plan, or your strategic plan, or your business plan, or whatever you want to call it, is actually when you get down to the nuts and bolts. Okay, I got to do this type of marketing. It's this type of product I'm selling. I'm trying to get this many rentals. That only then are you supposed to get to that stuff where you talk about the nuts and bolts, the tactical type work, right? Everyone wants to just crush all that stuff, but they don't slow down enough to think about the really important stuff that is going to arrive you where you're trying to go in the first place, which is the only goal that any of us have anyways, right? I mean, you don't start a business to end up unhappy, and to end up unfulfilled, or to end up with less freedom than you originally had. Nobody wants that, right? So it's just that people don't slow down enough to think this through, or they weren't coached correctly, and so they end up in the wrong place. And when I coach clients, I really don't want to move past getting these two things nailed down to the tactical stuff until we got them nailed down, because I do not want to play a role in helping somebody go where they do not want to go, and where they're just going to have to turn around and come back the other direction 6 months, a year, 2, 5 years later, once they realize this. So hope that helps, guys. Take some time to do both of these exercises. If you want to hop on the Virtual Real Estate Investing Facebook page, you can make a post about how it went for you. If you're willing to share what you came up with, I would love to read it. I'll give you some feedback on it. So thank you guys for listening, and I will see you on the next episode. Peace.
Want more? Get your free copy of Brian's book that is changing real estate businesses everywhere. Just go to www.fireyourself.net. Also, register for your free virtual real estate investing online masterclass at virtualinvestingclass.com.